Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
'Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam Territory on the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And we're going to have a couple of other folk joining us over the course of this evening. Zachary Meisenheimer, one of our usual co-hosts, will be along in the studio shortly. Hasn't arrived yet. I think he's possibly put his clocks back 2 hours instead of 1.
It could have been.
Yeah, or probably stopped off for food.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably the better bit. And then we'll...
Drown his sorrows in food.
Yeah, could be that as well. But we are pleased to say that on the phone line just now, we have AFTN writer extraordinaire, Chris Corrigan. So welcome. Thanks for calling in, Chris.
Hey, good evening. How are you guys?
Very good. All the better for hearing your voice. I'm sure you'll try and put some positive spins on what might be not the happiest show. Or maybe, I don't know.
I don't know. I'll do my best to represent the Optimist Union.
That may be a little bit hard. So,
I think it's a bit hard.
We're going to go over quite a few things this evening. It's a kind of season's end. It's not going to be the end of the show. We're on non-stop on Sundays, whether you like it or not. But it's season end for the Whitecaps. So we'll look back at the Seattle game. We'll kind of look at what is next for the Whitecaps. Some stuff that Robbo said, some stuff about Fredy Montero. We'll look at what players we feel should be here next year, what ones should move on. Look at the MLS playoffs that played out today. Some crazy stuff taking place in that. And we've got a lot more aside. But we will kick things off with a look at the loss to Seattle. Unfortunately, we have to do that because we didn't do a post-game show after it. It
feels like a post-game show for me because I finally watched it today.
Yes, because we did have a poll.
Yeah.
We wanted to know whether Steve should watch it because tell them why you didn't watch it live.
I had, because I assumed the second game would be on November 5th. I had tickets to a movie pre-purchased a month ago, and I couldn't make it to watch the game live.
Because you booked it around the playoff dates.
Yeah.
Sillily thinking that
I would be
the playoff dates
exactly.
that MLS gave would be the playoff dates that games would be played on.
But I guarantee one thing, I probably enjoyed myself that night more than you guys did watching that.
You weren't as cold as I was.
No, definitely not.
I had some nice pulled pork in the press box. So I was quite happy.
Okay, that's not bad.
And we had a lovely couple of days down in Seattle. Went to Alki Beach and got some... Actually, I was going to say we got some nice coffee. We didn't get some nice coffee. Seattle is not a place for cappuccinos. That is something I have learned. They don't seem to know how to make them. I'm just stalling. I'm trying to talk about everything that we did in Seattle apart from the match. But I guess we kind of have to get to it. Now, hindsight is a wonderful thing. It's hard not to come away from that playoff game thinking that the match was lost in the first leg. Do you agree with that, Chris?
I agree with that. I do. I think the first leg was dire, and that was our chance. I mean, to be playing them without Dempsey and coming off of that 5-0 win. I mean, you'd think you just want to ride that momentum into a real performance we could all be proud of at home and, you know, give Seattle something to think about coming back to CenturyLink. But, you know, I mean, even coming out of that first leg, I thought, okay, well, we can put it down to Revo's tactical genius, I suppose, and we can say, okay, we're going to go to CenturyLink and we're going to try and make a result there. But I did say on CBC, they interviewed me like from CenturyLink, and I said, obviously there'll be a result in the match, but I think what the result is and how we get it is going to say a lot about this team and where we're at right now and the state of things, and I stand by that.
That's why I had Seattle essentially predicting Vancouver to beat Seattle because of that first leg, because it seemed like they had all the advantages in that first leg.
Well, they did. That was the thing. And now we talked about it last week. I didn't think it was a horrible first leg to watch, but I didn't think it was the worst performance for the tie for Vancouver. And
I disagree on that one.
Yeah, I disagree too.
Well, see, at the time, I thought that this does suit Vancouver. I fancied us to go and pop a goal in Seattle. Then when the second leg lineup came out, the Seattle media down there pre-match, we were just chatting, and they were saying to me that they thought Vancouver were favourites. Ozzy Alonso hadn't made the 18. Robo's ruse, although it wasn't really a ruse, it was kind of pretty obvious what was going to happen. Raining Teixeira did start, shock horror. But it did seem to surprise the Seattle media, who really believed what Robo said, that they were going to start on the bench. So with them starting, Alonso not starting, all that stuff for Seattle, they actually had Vancouver down as favourites. They thought the Whitecaps would win the tie, maybe not win on the night, but they would do what they needed to do to go through. Totally different feeling after the match, which we'll come to in a bit. But heading into the game, when you saw the lineup, Chris, when you saw the formation, did you think that this was Vancouver's game for the taking?
Not when I saw the lineups.
No,
I don't think. Well, without Raining Teixeira in the starting 11, and then coming off that offensive piece, I don't know. I honestly would have wanted. So what I was thinking was I would have wanted, okay, let's get a couple of goals, take them off, rest them for the second leg or something. Let's just keep it going. But you see the starting lineup we had, and at the end of the day, 0-0. You're like, okay, all right, that's how we're going to play it.
I'm talking about for the second leg, when you saw the lineup for the second leg.
For the second leg, for sure. For the second leg, I actually thought we had a chance. We were chanting at one point, after the first goal, we were chanting, 1-1, we're going to win 1-1. All it took was a goal. But if you look at the pass map from that leg, we had nothing.
Yes.
In the final quarter, we had nothing. We had a couple of crosses. I think Jordan Harvey sent one in from the touchline, and De Jong had a couple. And I think Alphonso Davies, when he came on, had a little run in there and squirted the ball off to someone. But I think other than that, there was nothing going on up there. We weren't playing to. I don't know what they were doing.
Yeah. And we've been joined now by Zach. I was wrong. Nothing to do with food. Nothing to do with his clock going back 2 hours by mistake. A little bit of car trouble for him.
Oh, that's why he's got the manual.
Yes.
I'm reading
He's reading his Corolla manual.
2.2 instrument cluster, it's called, this section.
Well, funnily enough, if we're talking about clusters, that we might call this section talking about the Seattle game an instrument cluster, because that's basically how it played out. Zach, when you saw the lineup the Caps were putting out in Seattle, were you optimistic? Did you think, this is it, we're going to do this?
Yeah, I felt like you did. I think, like many, that this was, if not the best, close to the best 11 that we've seen in the entire year. And there was some attacking options in there, or some attacking excitement, some things I look forward to. In theory, yes. Yeah. So, when I saw the lineup, I thought, okay, let's have a go.
Well, yeah, Robo can take a lot of criticism for how the team approached these two matches. One thing, though, I don't think we can criticise him for is that lineup that he put out in the second leg in Seattle. For me, it was the most attacking lineup he could have put out. I had no problems with that whatsoever.
My issues is, were the players confused, like, on the tactics? Were they how much freedom were they given?
Yeah.
And were they like, because you have a mentality in that first leg. Did that mentality carry over to the second leg where they didn't feel like they should attack because they're worried about counters?
For the first 55, 50 whatever minutes,
Yeah.
no, they played the tactical game plan really well. Sure, they probably should have done better with the very limited chances or half opportunities they had, especially for me, the one that stood out was that counterattack they had like 5 minutes into the game. It was almost like an odd man counterattack that the ball was not, I forget who it was. I just remember the ball not being played wide early enough. But they didn't take advantage of those. I think the biggest frustration is, and I don't think this is necessarily totally to do with the tactics, the way everyone wants it to be or thinks it is there was not a good response from the players on the pitch, the players who came on the pitch, once Seattle went ahead, once Vancouver went behind, and that's where the real disappointment is.
Zach makes a good point there. The players, they're attacking in theory, but were they being reined in? No pun intended, but like were they being reined in that they were told, look, we know you can attack, but we don't want you to attack. We actually want you to sit back and defend and just, if you get the slightest morsel, try and take that. And because of that, did that stifle them? Did that kind of neuter them a little bit?
I think so. I think they were shackled. I mean, they played that way in the first game too. And
great words.
To see Nerwinski not getting forward at all. I mean, he was like a thoroughbred. He wanted to run, and I mean that little steaming run he did at the end of the first leg, where he was just like, "Let me run the length of the pitch."
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I think the second leg, you know, it was really weird because I was watching Ali Ghazal, and he just seemed to be facing backwards all the time. I don't know, and he wasn't. Like there was a big hole in the middle of the midfield that I saw a lot of the time, and they were like conceding all that space to Seattle, just letting them have possession. They weren't forcing the play; they weren't pressing at all. You know, I mean, I didn't even know if they were playing defensive or they were just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, and let's talk a little bit about Ghazal and Noza. I thought they did a good job. And in the first leg as well, I thought Ghazal did a good job. But some of the supporter reaction to the two of them, they don't seem to be the most popular pairing. People don't seem to like them at all. And the criticism of Noza, Matt Doyle was someone from MLS Soccer who didn't see that Noza brought anything to the team. Was it just me not seeing it? Or
no, I think Doyle was out of order. Actually, I don't think he was. He seemed to have watched a completely different player. I agree with you. I mean, I thought Noza and Ghazal have a lot of. I like them a lot. I like them both a lot. I thought it was I mean, I haven't seen a lot of either of them, obviously, but I thought Ali Ghazal did not play the kind of game in the second leg that I have seen him play in the other games.
He played the opposite of how Michael described him in his preview on Radio Cascadia.
Yes,
where you said he was a great player with great skill and ability, the opportunity to change a game or whatever. Blah blah.
He can go box to box.
Yeah.
He can put in some hard tackles, crunching tackles in the first few minutes.
But you also have to give it considering even if you want to criticize them, you also have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They're the players that came in. Well, Ghazal came in August, want to say, and then Noza just started playing.
Well, that was a big
just before the
criticism
playoffs.
that was levelled at Noza. It was like, why has Robbo decided to play him
because he's better than
as opposed to Chani? And
He's
it's like,
better than
it's
Chani.
because he's better. He's been playing in Spain.
Yeah.
He's been playing against Barcelona and Real Madrid.
You guys all might not have seen it, but he was given praise on the TV broadcast by Dasovic on Noza did on his play.
That's because they know what they're talking about.
Yeah. So, but remember, like we said, Nozick just came in, and then they're playing 3 games in 9 days or 10 days or whatever it was. So they're
it
probably
was a
huffing and
risk,
puffing
but
by
he's
the
a
end.
quality player.
Yeah,
if
you
you've
have to
got
take it.
quality,
You play it.
you put it out there.
Guys, I don't know that the issue was those two, to be honest. I think it was
No.
the wings, and it was Reyna. I don't think it was...
Reyna had a bad game.
Yeah, I mean...
Reyna had a bad game.
Yeah, well, we'll come to Reyna shortly. But 0-0 at the half. How were you feeling up in the stands, Chris? Were you optimistic? Did you think, we're going to do this?
Yes, I think so. I mean, it only took a goal, and it didn't matter if Seattle got one.
Exactly.
It only took
What a
one
goal for
We're
them,
capable
nothing
of a goal in
changed.
Seattle. We've had results in Seattle over the years. We've had outstanding results in Seattle. Like, we didn't need anything outstanding. We needed one goal. So, I guess I was looking for it, but hopeful. Yeah, hopeful would be the word.
Well, for me, knowing the result at halftime, I wasn't very confident. But really, if I had watched the game, it would have been only because I was concerned about the Jake Nowitzki injury. That was a big turning point too in that first half. That if I had watched the game live, that would have definitely, kind of, because there's no attack at that point.
No,
going on that right side.
Actually, going back then to that. When he went down injured, they'd run out of food before the match in the press box. I know folk are going to be...
That might have been more devastating for you.
Yeah, folk are going to be devastated for me when they
there's
hear
gonna There's going to be a campaign.
Yeah.
There's going to be a hashtag.
Well, it's okay. There was more
Save the
coming,
buffet.
but they said it was going to be like 20 minutes. So when Nowinski down injured, I was like, awesome, I can go get some food. So then I'm like getting my food, and then I just heard this massive cheer from the Seattle fans, and I was like, oh my God, they've reviewed it and they've given a penalty. Which they obviously did review and not give a penalty.
They gave a cheer for the review.
Yeah.
Not the result.
Did you think it was a penalty? Because, to be honest, I did.
In the stadium, I felt like it was a penalty.
Yeah.
I think Toledo's...
I was waiting for the penalty.
Yeah, I think Toledo's call was, maybe he thought what was it, the Tulua or whatever his name is? Nuhu, whatever.
I mean, he's always going down to the ground.
I think he went, maybe he thought he went down too easy. That's my only consideration. And the fact that the previous game he went down 3 times, and reputation sometimes gets the better of you at some points.
I think it's all because Robbo, as we talked about, was all hugs and laughs and jokes with Toledo in the last couple of matches.
Yeah.
So I think that had won him over.
Yeah.
But when they'd reviewed it, I thought, oh, this is a penalty. And the Seattle broadcast, because that's what I was listening to while I was getting the food, they were convinced it was a penalty. They had no doubt that it was going to get given.
I think it was a penalty.
Yeah.
Even though, yeah.
But yeah, now at half-time. I mean, were you confident at that stage, Zach? I was. I thought they would do it.
Yeah, I felt a little bit like, well, you know what, even down a goal, I felt not unlike watching the Portland game today, where it was just like, oh, they just need to score one. They can do this, no problem.
Yeah. But then,
yeah.
Then the deuce took over. A pair of deuces.
Yeah.
The Dempsey factor. Now, after the match, Robbo talked about... Well, he was asked the question, is it fair to say that the difference between the two teams was Seattle's difference makers stepped up to the plate, whereas Vancouver's difference makers basically disappeared? And he said, yeah, that's what you expect from quality players. They step up. He was very complimentary about Dempsey. And as much as I can't stand the guy, he is a quality striker. And in games like that, you need your best players to go, do something special, get the goals, and that's just what Dempsey did. That first one was a cracker.
Well,
Yeah.
The second one, he was just opportunistic and read the play perfectly.
The first one, there were quite a few mistakes in there too by the Whitecaps players. Jordan Harvey looked like he was playing the left side instead of the right side. He moved up way too far up the park. And then Bruin drops down, which makes Gazal have to leap over him, and which puts him out of basic balance, trying to block Dempsey. It was just it was a cluster.
The first goal, Vancouver made.
Well,
go ahead, Chris.
No, I mean, it also didn't Parker pass the ball to Bruin or something. I mean, it started with a turnover as well. And I have to give Seattle credit. I kept pointing to that goal, saying that passing play. It wasn't just Dempsey. Dempsey finished it. I mean, there were like 4 or 5 little touches in there.
Yeah, and they'd kept the pressure on from a corner as well.
Pieces. We got torn to pieces. Yeah. So Parker gave away the ball. I think didn't that result in a corner or something? And then after that, there was this little passing play. I mean, Dempsey was there to scoop it up, but it was, that's what we should have been doing.
But
we're capable of doing.
My recollection of the passing play was that Vancouver made Seattle look like it was a sweeping, beautiful kind of play. Made it look better than it was.
It did.
Yeah, but I mean that was the difference. So like Dempsey took the great game by the scruff of the neck, and Seattle hadn't created too much actual goal threats. Like they had some chances and they threatened, but Marinovic was having a fairly easy night, and 2 chances, 2 buried by Dempsey. So he steps up And then you look at the Whitecaps guys. Reina, invisible. Bolaños, invisible. Teixeira, invisible. Montero, no service at all to do anything. And I felt sorry for Fredy because he wanted to go and do something in his old town, and he was on a roll after scoring his first playoff goal, and then 2 matches after that, nothing whatsoever to feed him, really.
Yeah, no service, but then he was taking shots from way far away, and they weren't even good quality shots.
He had to, though, I think, because he had no support. There was a couple of times he had the ball, and you're looking, and there's no one running up with him. And Reina just looked to step off. I was still a little bit sceptical that he was even injured, and I still think it was all a whole ruse, but he definitely didn't seem right in those 2 matches.
Well, he hasn't looked great in any of the Cascadia games that he's been in, if memory serves correct, which is a bit of a concern.
Yeah, not a big-time player, perhaps, but that's maybe just simplifying it a little bit.
He had game-winning goals, though. He scored so many to start.
I wouldn't expand it fully to that, because you saw that. Yeah, got
being
the game winner
facetious
against the Man City Light and stuff. Yeah, he has had some played well in some bigger games, but the Cascadia games, I think my memory is he's gone missing.
And Teixeira's come in and out of games all season. Unfortunately, these games when we needed him to be in was the games that he wasn't.
Well, wait a minute. Didn't Montero score 2 goals against Seattle in the first game we played against them?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm talking about Reina went missing.
It's Reina that hasn't kind of stepped up.
The ones he played in, to be fair, because he didn't play in all of them.
Yeah.
That question, though, to me, is a fair question. I know I've seen some people go back and forth about this, but like, you talk about difference makers. Yeah, Seattle's difference makers made the difference. Vancouver's didn't. Like, it's not that crazy. So you look at Dempsey. What's Dempsey on? Like 6 something, 8 something, somewhere between 6 and 8 million, right? And Vancouver's top striker is on 1.8.
Yeah. I didn't know when you asked that question that was about money. I thought you were going to say, what's he on? I was going to say, hopefully anger management pills or something.
No, but, right? And then...
Well, yeah, exactly. But it isn't just about the money, as the likes of Columbus and Houston showed tonight, which we'll talk about in part 4. But
you're comparing the difference makers of these 2 teams in these 2 games.
But you still have... If you're in the team, no matter what you're paid, like Reina is the guy that's Vancouver's difference maker. Doesn't matter salary-wise.
Right.
He's still expected to be that difference maker.
It doesn't matter salary-wise, but it does matter quality-wise. And there's definitely a gulf in the quality between those 2 squads.
Well, yeah, like what you're going to get for $6 million, what you're going to get for, say, $1 million for Reina is chalk and cheese. And, yeah. But was the approach right at 1-0? I mean, Chris, you said... the whole time you were just feeling, it just needs 1 goal, doesn't matter if it's 1-0. When Dempsey scored that first goal, should Vancouver have gone more attacking earlier? I mean, I felt they were right not to, because I thought you can't go gung-ho too early, then give up the second goal, then that's definitely it lights out. But I had kind of said to some of the folk round about me at half-time, because they said, what happens if Seattle score first? What do you think Robinson will do? And I said, I said this on the Radio Cascadia show as well, he'll be happy and he won't open up to the last 5 minutes, because that's when he's going to think, oh, well, I've nothing to lose now. And I do think that's what he was trying to do. I think he was trying to hold it at 1 till the last 5 minutes, and if he sneaks something, great, but if not, just go for it.
Steve is ripping off all of his beard hair at your analysis.
Yeah, I don't believe that. If that's what he believes, then... There has to be serious questions.
I do think that's what he was trying to do.
I don't know.
I guess that's old English mentality, or Welsh mentality.
Yeah, I mean, one of the criticisms levied at him, I can't remember who by, was he has brought a kind of 1980s, 1990s British style of football to MLS.
Playing with Latin players,
yeah.
In the Spanish formation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but...
I don't know, man. You know what, Michael, I don't, honestly... If you're down 1-0, you go for it, because you're losing at that point. You're losing. This is your cup final now.
Yeah, 2-0 doesn't make losing another goal doesn't make a difference at that point.
But by that point, there was still half an hour to go, so he had time. He didn't have to go crazy.
But okay, that half an hour you're talking about, what part of the 150 minutes beforehand showed that he could he would be able to accomplish something in the last 5 minutes?
It is hard to then flick a switch.
It was the same in the first leg. It was the same in the first leg, though, guys, because we were at about an hour mark when he made the sub. At the hour mark, you could see him on the touchline, like urging guys forward at for the last half an hour. And I honestly think that their brains were set in the work that they've been practicing all week. I mean, it's like they couldn't generate offense in the first leg, and I think the same thing in the second leg. I don't know. I would have just released him. You've got nothing to lose. Well, you've got everything to lose. You've got the whole season to lose, and a goal takes you to the next round.
So even if what you said is true, Michael, and that was the plan, save it till the last 5 minutes. The argument for doing that is that we, in this series and in a lot of the season, we couldn't do much with the ball, with a lot of possession. Our strength was on the counter.
Yeah.
And so, and we proved it. I think that was proven in the first leg quite a bit, because we were at 40 some odd. We had the ball way more than usual, it felt like. So I think.
See, as I joked about before, don't let us have the ball. Yeah, we can't do anything with it
because we've been more effective without it.
Yeah.
So I know other people are probably pulling out their beards or hair at the sound of that. But I mean, why would you go against the thing that's been the most effective for you?
Yeah,
because you have.
I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that's the perspective.
That's how he approaches it. But we'll just wrap up this first part, and we've got a lot more to talk about. We'll wrap up this first part. I just want to pose this question. Quick yes or no. Can this season be deemed as a success for the Whitecaps in any shape or form? There was no silverware, no Voyageurs Cup, no Cascadia Cup, but they did make the playoffs after missing it last year, and they got to the Champions League semi-finals. So, Chris, a success in your eyes in any way?
There's a complicated yes.
We'll look at that in more detail in part 2.
Maybe we'll see an article about that.
Steve?
The completed yes. I would say, considering, I'm going to put something, considering all the stuff they had to go through with injuries and stuff like that, I would say yes as well.
Zach?
I want to say a qualified yes because of the Champions League, but overall you have to say no.
Yeah, I'm more in the no camp than the yes camp.
I'm slightly in the yes camp.
Wait, we're camping together?
Yeah.
Wow.
I've only ever been camping once, and I left after one night and booked into a B&B.
Oh, okay. Well, I know.
He's 5 pre-season.
I know what to do. I camped with Jeff Tinker this summer, and Isabel,
I left my friend
and my kids and my wife, and it was great.
Nah, I'm a luxury person. I like my luxury players. I can't see this season being any form of success. I know they made the playoffs, but if they hadn't, it wasn't a quality West.
Wait a minute. You asked us to answer yes and no, and you've got to. I mean, I can tell you why I think it's a qualified yes.
Okay, give me very quickly why it's a qualified yes, and then we'll head to the ads.
But I do think semifinals of the Champions League, and we, high point, good point total this year. Plus, okay, we've gone to the conference semifinals. But the other thing is about we've got a different squad. We've got a very different squad, and so I think in the sense of looking at the players that we've got in, and especially looking at coming in this year, Montero, who is a success at striker. I don't think you can disagree.
No.
Reina, Gazal, even like the polishing off, Nerwinski, who might have been lucky, polishing up Marinovic out of nowhere. I mean, he needed to transition this squad, and there is something there.
The building blocks are certainly there, and we're going to look at that in part 2.
But results-wise, that it was like I said before. It was about how we got that result that mattered. It made all the difference. That was I said before the game started. That was the most important game of one of the most important games of the club's MLS history, and it was not down to necessarily the result, but how we got it. And in that sense, there's a lot of notice there.
Yeah. Well,
we look forward to your fuller answer later.
Pot calling kettle black.
Will be. Yeah. I know when you're on the phone, we're doing exactly the same thing. So.
Sorry.
We'll talk a little bit more in part 2 about some of the supporters' reactions and just what now for the Whitecaps, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hi, I'm Carl Robinson. You're listening to the AFTN podcast.
We are back. You are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of British Columbia. And in part one, we looked over that Seattle game. Pretty much done talking about that, but just before we do wrap up, Chris, you're always a guy that's got his finger on the pulse of the supporters' reaction, and I think it's safe to say that the supporters' reaction was not good after that loss, which is to be expected, but it did feel that within a split second of the final whistle being blown, that the fans were already tweeting Robbo out. Whitecaps Scarf has changed his Twitter handle to Robbo Out Scarf. And the whole Robbo Out campaign is basically in full flow, but the supporters have not taken this defeat very well.
No. Well, there's something to be proud of. I mean, I actually got a apology from one of the club staff in Seattle, and just came over to me and shook my hand and said, "I'm so sorry." And I think, I thought that was great. I think we deserved. I think we deserved it.
I felt so sorry for everyone that had made that trip, because for 400 or 500 fans to go down on a Thursday night, a lot of expense, horrible weather going home, just everything, to be served up that performance. I said to Robbo afterwards, because like one shot on target, I said to him that was unacceptable, and he kind of agreed it was unacceptable, but
that's why it was been better to go for it in the first game and completely be down, and then nobody has to make that trip out down there because they know they're out of it.
Well, yeah, and let's be honest too. That first game, the first leg, I think several of us knew people who were there for the first time this season. There was a lot of buzz, a lot of excitement after the 5-0. 5-0 was really something. Zach and I both missed it, and then we were both subsequently banned. And I actually think that we violated the bans, and it's probably down to us, because we actually snuck in to watch the games and we lost, or we were knocked out. But I actually think that coming off the first leg, I mean, I had people looking at me going, "Really? You support this shit? This is what you spend your time doing?" I mean, I was walking out of there going, "Yeah, you know what?"
I felt embarrassed driving home on the Thursday with the Whitecaps magnets on the back of my car through Seattle. I was thinking folk are going to see that and go, "Wow, what's that idiot still doing down here?"
No, I think they would have just let you drive, knowing you weren't going to be a danger to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I had real trouble getting the car to go forward.
No.
I do think, the interesting thing about the Robbo Out thing is I think mostly folks that are banging on about it have been banging on about it for a little while. I think they're taking some solace, and maybe the sentiment is there. I don't think it's completely clear cut, but I do think that there's, I think we're feeling let down, and actually would like a response from the club, actually acknowledging that. I mean, there is a tremendous amount of disappointment out there, anger for sure.
Oh, definite anger.
I think people feel betrayed, and here, I don't know. We had a. It's hard even to talk about it, but I do think that the club is kind of poised at the moment to make a bit of a statement about what it wants to be with respect to the style it wants to play and how it wants people to see football in this town. And I think a lot of supporters are cynical about whether or not Carl Robinson, this front office, this crew is going to deliver that. So, at this point, I think, as I said, I think how the game was played and how the result came out of Seattle that would say a lot about the kind of club we are. And it's not the kind of football people want to watch, and it's not it's not what we get up for every week.
Yeah, Chris, if you want a response, just send Bobby an email, and he'll respond, or he'll give you a call, or he'll go out to coffee with you, and he'll tell you what he wants to tell you. And that's part of what his job is and part of what he does. The thing is, though, you can't expect people can't expect this to change. This is not going to change with this football committee and this ownership. But we talked about it a couple of weeks ago. That Bobby himself can no longer go out in public and how he used to always and be like, "We're going to play exciting football and come and watch us and come and be a part of it." No, he can't do that anymore. There has been, I think, a few times during the MLS era where he has. And I think some of that has been during Carl Robinson's reign, and some maybe at other times as well. But he can't do he can't do that, and he knows he can't do that anymore. And
Yeah.
I think that hurts him to not be able to do that, like on a personal level.
Oh yeah, well, Bobby, Jeff Marlett, and Greg Anderson all went into the locker room after the match, and their faces, they weren't happy faces. They were like fizzing, which is at least good to see. So I asked for some thoughts from Whitecaps fans as to what's on their mind. I'll just read this one for now from a friend of the show, Christina at Mudcree. She says, they're so sucky, boring, cheap, unoriginal, dull, non-cohesive, lackluster, laissez-faire, maddening, coast on their laurels. Did I say cheap? So she's more optimistic than usual, but not happy.
So like, that's the thing is you can't use the. I think cheap is not a fair word because they spend lots of money. You can
compared
argue
to some other clubs as well.
You can argue
considerably
about,
more.
You can argue about how they spent it or whatever, but they're not totally cheap. But they are not willing, and this is where and this is part of what you're talking about, Chris. They do show a lack of ambition by not willing to invest in the squad in further or deeper or whatever you want to. They don't want to invest more money into the squad.
Right.
And there's a whole, we could spend all 2 hours talking about why that is and what's happened in the past and how they maybe feel they've gotten burnt by, bringing in certain players and them not panning out and all that kind of stuff. But you need, if you get what you pay for, and they're choosing not to pay that much, and they're getting what they pay for.
Well, let's look at Robo quickly now. His job seems safe, despite all these Robo-out folk. But should it be? Is he the right man to take this club forward?
I don't think so. I don't think. I mean, he could stay in the job and we wouldn't be going forward. But I think if we want to go to the next level, I'm not sure he's the guy that can take us there. I've been saying that. I think letting him go would be harsh in some ways, but I do think it's warranted.
It would be kind of ironic if he gets a new contract for not making the playoffs and then gets sacked for making the playoffs.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing, though, right, Chris? They're not. Again, I wouldn't call them cheap. I wouldn't use that language to describe them.
No.
But there's no way they're going to want to pay out on if they had to fire him for one
there's that
thing.
as well. 3 years' salary and his management team,
depending on how it's worded. But yeah, but on top of that, again, that's I feel, and I know not everyone would feel this way. I feel he's trying to do the best with what he is able to, and that was part of the sit down with him a number of weeks ago when he said, "Hey, we're spending every penny we're given." Right, and he was talking about the squad. We're spending all that we can, all that we're allowed to. So I think you bring in someone else. I don't think people could expect things to be that much different. To be honest.
But you know what? I mean, it's almost like the club doesn't even back the players they've got. I mean, I was noticing this like this year. I don't know. Maybe I just haven't been paying attention to it. But like the Whitecaps advertising on media is all about the atmosphere. Have you ever heard them this year mention a player?
Yeah, they do a little bit.
Watson's our captain. He's going to the World Cup final.
No,
they'll play that up next year, big time though.
They do mention that kind of stuff.
They do mention players once in a while, but I do agree they go a lot on the atmosphere, and there's other things that they, and they obviously the other, as you know, when Atlanta came to town, they really promoted Atlanta.
Or they get Eric Hurtado to draw a Timbers logo. Or, I mean.
Oh man.
It
was good. There was lots of fine lines with it.
A lot of fine lines. Give him a fine nib.
Hey, tangent. Speaking of fine lines,
that
interview with Caleb Porter.
Yeah,
did you not? He said that in that interview.
Yeah, fine lines.
Oh, a lot of people.
I didn't know.
I
don't know if he was trolling Carl or.
Possibly.
I've heard a lot of people say it in the media too, and it doesn't seem like they're trolling. Like in Vancouver media, it seems like that line has infected a lot of people.
No, a lot of people here are trolling with it.
Yeah.
No. That whole Portland game was trolling Vancouver. Are you kidding me?
Possibly. Now, I just want to play a comment that Robbo made after the match. Let's just play it, and then we'll talk a little bit about exactly what he says.
Yeah, listen, we come up a bit short. You know, we managed to win the playoff game in against San Jose, which was great, but we've fallen short again this year. So we know where we are. You know, as I said, I won't fault the players in there, and sometimes you have to accept where you are in football, and we know where we are as a club, which is fine. But we did come up a little bit short, so we'll have to get our thinking caps on. We'll have to go back to the well and see what we can do, because we need to come back better next year, because that's a level we want to try and achieve.
So Robbo there saying that sometimes you just have to accept where you are as a football club, and we know where we are. When he said that, I was standing with him thinking he's going to get crucified by the supporters for saying that, because he's basically saying, yeah, but we're not a club that can compete with these other teams.
No, okay.
Well,
but he's saying that because that's the truth. The amount that's being...
It's the truth, but people don't see it that way.
My take on it is he's comfortable in who he is and what he's done and how he does it. And if he's just speaking the... For lack of a better term, he's speaking the truth or his perspective of the truth. And I think he's saying, I could be wrong. This is my interpretation. I think he's saying it to put pressure on, to say, hey, we're doing all we can. You need to get used to this, or something has to change.
I think the worst thing that happened for Robbo is the 5-0 win over San Jose, because it set up a lot of expectations amongst the casual fans that, these guys could score 5 goals. Why can't they even get a shot on goal against Seattle?
I was wondering the same thing.
I guarantee if it's 1 or 2-0 against San Jose, then maybe you don't even hear too much about this going forward.
I mean, I just find it crazy that San Jose got beat 5-0 by the Whitecaps, and then they beat Portland today, and they're in the Western Conference Final.
Relocated San Jose. Oh, man. That's a good one.
I am wearing my original San Jose Earthquakes kit in honour of them dumping the timbers out tonight. We'll get a photo of that up on Twitter later. But yeah, Robbo, when he said that, I was a little bit surprised that he kind of said it. But I did wonder if he had said it because he's trying to put some pressure on the front office by just saying to the fans, look, this is as good as I can get this team unless I get some more money and some better players.
But here's the thing: is like, you know, I actually think I actually like the team we've got now. I mean. You know, you always need to we've got to get rid of a lot of guys just in the off season and so on. But I actually like what's happening. I like some of the new players that have been brought in. And like I said before, it's a complicated yes. But I think that what's missing for me is I think those players on paper should have a lot of people out of their seats game after game after game. And there's something about it's about his tactics. It's about how he's deploying them. I mean, okay, we are who we are, and we've got who we've got, but you're making choices about how these guys are being deployed. And I think people would be happy to see 4-3, 3-2 games, a 4-3 loss, something. You know, I mean, those games are entertaining.
Yeah,
and exciting.
folk would be happy with that, because they said that in the poll I had, which kind of baffled me a little bit.
But Chris, I don't disagree with the perspective you're putting out there. The thing is, I think this year is a response to what happened last year, where we were awful at the back and we weren't good enough going forward. So we brought in a striker they thought would score goals, and they said, we're going to go...
And he did.
We're going to go crazy with the help of Tim Parker, and we're going to go crazy. We're going to go crazy focused on the defense at the back and make sure that we don't get beaten by giving up a lot of goals. And I'm not saying it's, no one's saying this is champagne football, but it got them better results than they've gotten except for 1 year in this league, in this era of the club.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Well, if we're agreeing that Robbo's going to be here, which it's hard to see that he's going to go, but what does that make us then? If there's not a change in the front office philosophy, if there's not a change to bring in better players or a different identity, are we just going to be perennial also-rans? Is getting to conference semi-finals the best that we can hope for?
Yeah, I think so. Unless there's
a change,
unless the whole entire squad plays above their level.
Well, what has to change then to take the Whitecaps to that next level?
We've talked about this the whole season. You need.
I know,
Matthias,
but
we would like to reiterate this at the end of the year.
We have 2 hours to fill here.
Matthias Laba and Breck Shea can't be designated players.
Exactly.
They have to be 10 players at best,
or not even
in this squad this season. And you need to bring in actual designated players,
Difference makers.
whatever you want to call them.
Difference makers that can elevate the not lesser players, but the players that are on lower pricing, that are more bargain like, and they can elevate them up to another level.
I don't disagree with that at all. I think you've got to find your pieces, and you've got to pay for them. Absolutely. I mean, I love Reina, but like a number, you look at the way this league is going, and a number 10, like a Ladero, kind of Valeri style number 10, is something we're missing. I don't know if Reina is exactly that. It's more like a secondary striker, but that's somebody that can play in the wingers. I mean, but that's also only going to work if you're going to play attacking football too.
But also part of the problem, if you want to talk about things maybe not what they are or what they should be with the players we have and all that is one of the things. We're using Jordi Reina as a 10. He's not really a 10.
He's more of a winger.
He's like a 9.5 or 10.5,
or to
like,
play the wing of the wide
or
side.
maybe a winger or secondary striker.
Yeah.
That's his role.
I think he's usually been a secondary striker.
But because he has more creativity than most of our players, they've put him in that spot.
And Bola doesn't want to be there in the number 10 spot either.
No, but I mean,
he won't be.
If we're talking about difference makers, Fredy Montero is obviously one of those. And will he be back next year? In part 3, we're going to look at what players we think should be back, which ones shouldn't. Fredy Montero, though, we'll talk about now. And I took the opportunity on Thursday after the game to ask Fredy about his future. Very non-committal answer he gave me. Here's basically what he had to say.
Now, your own situation, nothing's really been said about it. Are you expecting to be here next year in Vancouver?
It's too soon to think about it. I think I'm going to use some days in vacation and trying to, don't think about soccer for a while. And then I had to talk to the Chinese team and see what's going to happen because I still have one more year with them.
Even Fredy doesn't know the name of the Chinese team there. We'll just refer to them as the Chinese team. But a very non-committal answer. Too soon to talk about it. You would have thought these discussions had taken place a long time ago.
I'm okay that he refers to it as the Chinese team.
Well, yeah.
Well, you refer to him as the Colombian.
Yes. Maybe he got that from you. Maybe that was him trolling you for the answer.
Maybe he should put a name tag on his on his thing for him, like Zach has right now.
Oh yeah, Zach's wearing a name tag. I never noticed that.
That's from work this morning.
I'll look forward for that photo to go up on our Twitter account. But back to Fredy. For me, they should break the bank to keep him here. And I know others don't disagree because they think he's overpriced and he's not done well. But
he's got 15 goals in all competitions.
He's got 15 goals with no help and no support.
Even if you want to put Tim Parker in that, he's still got 14 goals.
Yes.
Okay, so what does breaking the bank mean to you, Michael?
100 million. Ronaldo money.
He's not.
No. Breaking the bank what that means to me is I go to my
what did the Chinese team?
cousin's house or my nephew's and I get their piggy bank and then I smash it with a hammer when they're not looking and I take the money away.
What did the Chinese team play for the Colombian? Let's ask that.
4 to 5 million euros.
So then maybe 2 million.
I think if the transfer fee is 2 or 3 million, I think he's worth that.
Yeah.
You think they're going to pay 2 to 3 million?
I don't think they're going to. I'm saying I
no.
think that he's worth them paying that. I don't think they will. I don't think they'll pay a penny.
There could be.
I think Montero will only be here next year if they can get him on a free transfer.
Yeah,
or another loan.
Or a loan. Yeah. And I think that's highly. I think now that's highly unlikely.
The thing is, if he does come on the free transfer, does Zach, instead of calling him the loanee, call him the free transfer next year?
Oh, it's just going to get complicated now.
Yeah.
I mean, Chris.
I've had some good conversations with him.
Chris, A, do you want him back? B, do you think he'll be back?
Yeah, I'd take him. I mean, if it wasn't my checks I was writing, I'd take him for sure. And do I think he'll be back? I haven't got a clue. I don't know. But I think he would. What does he want to do?
I think he wants to be back.
I think he would like to be back, but I think if Seattle said, "Hey, we'll take you back here," he'd go there in a minute.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I don't think he's going to Seattle.
He should go to Portland just to have everyone's head explode by that point.
Yeah. If they bought him a number 10, like this is the thing. Like if they spent money on a number 10 and freed up Reina and Montero, to play in a kind of like really interesting little triangle up there. he'd have a ball.
Well, that was another
He's
question.
got a sweet thing going with Reyna. He's got a really nice thing going with Jordi Reyna, and I think they need just one more piece up there.
That was another thing that was actually asked him after the match. It's like, he is isolated up there. Does he like playing that way, or how does he feel about playing that way?
Well, what do you expect him to say?
Well, no, his answer was interesting, though, because he was like, if I have to play that way, so it's basically like, I don't want to play that way, but if I have to. But he did point out, I've scored 14, 15 goals by playing up there. So, to me, that's what's the frustrating part. He's got that number of goals playing with no help.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what he could have got if he had a second striker beside him or better help?
But that's the other thing.
Yep.
He scored these goals, I think more than he's ever scored in one MLS season alone.
This has been his best ever MLS season.
So if you're the Chinese club, why would you give him away for free? Why would you not try and sell him somewhere?
Because maybe there's somebody they want more, and they just need to get him off the books or something like that. There's a whole bunch of possibilities about why they would want.
But
to
you don't give away someone for nothing.
Well,
and
we got like Noza and Ali Ghazal and
For
guys
nothing.
like that for nothing because they were just given away after big transfer fees were paid.
but they're holding midfielders.
They're still important players.
I mean, the Chinese clubs had to adjust because of their roster rules. I think.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
It
That was
limited
the
the
big
number
thing.
of foreign players that could have come in.
But
So there was a value for them in being able to dump those players.
my understanding is he has at least 1 year left on his deal in China, and I've also heard it suggested that he has 2 years left on his deal in China.
Yeah.
I think
He
it's
said
one.
one.
I think he said one.
Yeah, and the thing is,
To me.
there's plenty of money in China, and as an article in the headlines will show later on, there's plenty of money in China. So I don't think they're really worried about if they have to dump a player and they want to bring in somebody even better than Montero in their eyes, that they would do that.
Well, they have to dump 2 players then.
They'll do that. They'll do that.
So, just before we wrap this section up and bid farewell to Chris for the evening, this will bring us nicely into what we're going to talk about in the studio here in part 3, but we'll start this one off with Chris. What are your most pressing needs that you feel the Whitecaps now have to fill this off-season to make them competitive, to get them to this next level? Not talking about money or whatever, but what positional needs?
I think a number 10 and a winger. I think like looking at Montero, he's going to thrive. He thrives in 2 ways. He finds space, like on that far post. I mean, that's his office there. And he always seems to find space on the far post. And you got guys like DeYoung and Nowinski crossing the ball in. And we need wingers that can also do that. Cher's been doing that this year. And then he also loves playing off of, like, if he can get into a rhythm with Reyna and a number 10, he can also be creative near the top of the box. So I think a solid number 10 and a really good winger helps us to get the most out of the pieces that we've got there. I like everything back of that. I like our back 6, and there's bits and pieces I think we need to work with. But in terms of pressing needs, it's a number 10 and a winger.
I'll go I'll be a little bit. I agree with you there. I'm going to be a little bit more specific. I like a number 10 that has the ability to play the wing, and I would like a number 6 that can play the number 10 spot. That way you have a little versatility, and you can mix and match and throw opposition teams off. Don't be as obvious on the pitch with your players in the spots.
The number 1 position that needs to be filled is a visionary leader for the club as a whole at the top. That's what it needs. On the pitch.
I don't know why I didn't see that coming.
Yeah. On the pitch, it's hard to disagree. I think that you're going to see 2 to 4 new strikers in Vancouver next year. And, I think it would be nice to have at least one more winger because there's going to be wingers leaving. And you need another right back.
Yeah, definitely another right back.
There's tons of depth players that they need to fill in. The depth,
I mean, the key guy is a guy that can stamp his authority on the game, a Valeri-esque player. Every club's wanting that, but the Whitecaps desperately need that. And if Montero needs on, you have to have a guy that has a track record of scoring. I mean, it can't just be a guy like a Rivero who you don't really know, but he's done it on and off. This has to be. They have to have a proven goal scorer, and if they won't spend the money on Montero, it's hard to see that they're going to spend the money to get that.
They do need number 10 and a real true number 8. If Nosa is not going to do that, a box to box.
I think Nosa could be that guy, but we need.
Yeah,
it's a very small sample size, as we said earlier.
The midfield has always been the problem in MLS. Always.
Yeah. Well, we'll look at what players we think might come back and might not shortly. Thank you so much for joining us this evening, Chris. Let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me at SailorC86 on Twitter and right for AFTN doing supporter culture stuff.
And you're part of a movement as well, right?
Oh, yeah, part of a flock called the Pigeon Casuals that occupies the upper reaches of the Southside and Southsiders.
Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening, Chris. We'll talk soon, and we'll be back with more after this.
Hey, I'm Brett Levis, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Thanks for the Thor music.
Oh, no problem. And I figured that'd be ideal. Ragnarok, end of Asgard, end of the season for the Whitecaps.
Hey, can we talk about Thor? Because it was more exciting than the last
Oh,
week
for
or
sure.
so.
That's what I'm saying. I had more fun,
Yeah.
I think, at Thor than you guys had at the game.
Yes.
Kirk and I went on Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
IMAX, no 3D. It was great.
Yeah.
You went on Thursday?
I went Thursday night opening.
With the boys, the whole family?
Yeah, whole family.
I've not been yet.
Okay, well,
the thing is, Sandeep, you expect her not to be into it. She loves the Marvel
well,
movies.
because they tried. I mean, some
Of
might
course,
say
she loves the guy with the big hammer.
some might say they tried too hard, but
Something different.
How did you feel about the? Oh man, how did you feel about the humor? Like there was so.
I
It
thought
was like Guardians almost. Humor.
I thought it was actually a comedy.
It was funny.
It was more of a comedy than
I thought that watching the Whitecaps in Seattle.
dark comedy. Dark comedy.
Very black humour, yeah. So let's get back talking about the Whitecaps. And it's that time of the year where we look at who's going to stay, who's going to go, who's on the fence that could fall either way. We call it in, out, on the bubble.
Yeah.
And Steve, you wrote the article this year, and it was excellent. In previous years, we've had a couple of people
How
do
come
it.
you didn't I saw the article and I was like, oh, you never asked us.
Well, I thought that you guys could share your thoughts on the radio.
Well, yeah, and I was going to write one, but I pretty much agreed with everything that you said.
That's
so
not going to be good radio.
No. Zach might disagree.
No, but yeah, I wrote this basically the next morning after the game without even having to watch the game itself, the last game. But I thought
you'd seen enough by that point to know who to keep and who not.
I have you have a good idea over the season who's going to stay, and we talked about it so many times about certain players that this will be their last season, we think, and stuff like that. So you had a good idea going forward, what was going on. So what side do you guys want to start on?
Let's
back to front.
Yep, we'll go goalkeepers up.
Okay.
Because when you did it, you did forwards down, so I switched it around.
That's fine.
In the article, I've done goalkeepers up. So let's start with
That's
the
why you're
goalkeepers
the
position.
head editor of AFTN.ca.
I believe he
Initially-
likes to be called the head honcho.
Oh, yeah.
I'll just give you the player's name and just say in, out, bubble.
Yeah.
David Ousted.
Out.
Yeah, he's out.
Just
He's
basically of the other two that are still
Are we going to talk about this too?
Yeah.
All together at the end? Or
Yep.
Okay.
Stefan Marinovic.
in.
In.
Spencer Ritchie.
In.
In.
Yeah.
So there's no real goalkeeper's pretty easy to
Yeah.
identify.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the one thing, and I know we know hindsight is 2020. Obviously, we did talk about this as it was happening though, and in retrospect, I really think how they went about the goalkeeping in the end of the season was not the best for the betterment of the team.
No.
David Ousted should have been able to see out this season. I think bringing someone in to compete with him in such a way that made it obvious that this was going to be the person they wanted for the future was not good for his morale and impacted him mentally. And I think that didn't help his performances. And I think it would have been better to, especially the way the things played out, it would have been better to have him play and then to have Stefan start next year.
Yeah, this wasn't a situation like when David Ousted came in and kind of replaced Brad Knight. That was day and night.
That was August.
Yeah.
That was day and night.
No. It was day and night because there was a golf in
class.
In class. Yes. But this was a little bit closer. And once the game, I think it was the home game against San Jose, once Marinovic started that basically spelled the end for everything.
It was weird. And I have seen a few MLS pundits question why you would change your starting goalkeeper. Yep. And why you would change your starting left back, and why would you bring a guy in that hadn't played a minute in regular season to play in the playoffs? And you have to see their point. It's hard to why change at that point of the season?
I totally understand why they did it, but I don't think it was. I don't think
both sides, but
I don't think it was the way to go. And no. I think now that we've seen things play out, I think it would have been better. I think it would have been better for the individuals. I think it would have been better for the club as a whole. I definitely think it would have been better for the club supporters. It had David Osted, Stefan maybe play 1 or 2 games, from when he came until the end of the season. But I think David Osted really needed to be given the chance to finish the season and go into the playoffs and kind of go out on a high or a low or whatever that was going to look like.
Yeah.
Now he's going to leave, and there's going to be no farewell. There's going to be.
I know. I'm really curious if he's even going to be at the end of season availability, which hasn't been announced yet. But we still don't know when it's going to be. If we move into the rest of the defence now, and I'll do this slightly differently than what we did the goalkeepers. We'll talk about some individual players. Some are no-brainers, so there's not too much point.
Before we do that, I just want to talk about we think Marinovic and Richie are the 1 and 2 keepers next year, right?
I do, and I think Sean Melvin will get brought in to be number 3.
Okay.
Because Stuart Kerr is really high in him.
Yeah. It seemed like the one day I was at training, he seemed to really be watching what he did and on his side.
And in the reality of a salary budget league.
Yes.
You need to bring in someone who's going to be low.
Yeah, they'll bring in Melvin and then they'll loan him to Fresno.
Yeah, most likely. Sure. I agree with that.
But he'll be on the minimum or near the minimum.
Oh, he'll be on the minimum, and he'll be happy with that.
And Spencer's what, on 60?
Yeah, he's
60 to
just
80?
inches above the minimum as well.
Yeah.
So the fullbacks, Jake Nerwinski, it's pretty obvious.
Yes, he's in.
Yeah,
there's very little doubt that he would be.
I haven't heard it. What came out of that? What was his knock? What was his injury?
There's a hamstring, looked like.
I don't know either, actually. It's never been mentioned.
It looked like
because
a hamstring.
It doesn't matter now because it's over.
No, I know,
thought it was his ankle.
Oh, was it? I thought he was holding the back of his leg and stuff like that.
Everyone in Section 303 was holding their heads when it happened.
Oh,
yeah. I mean, if we'd got through that, all that was going through my mind was, oh, God, we're going to have to play Shannon Williams.
But he was on the bench.
Yeah. But I mean, if we'd got through the game.
Oh,
yeah.
So, Jake Nerwinski.
At that point, I wasn't even.
He's definitely in.
Yeah.
Brett Levi's, he's definitely in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Marcel DeYoung, the reason I put him in because I want him back in.
Yeah.
But of course, he is his contract is up, I believe.
It is, but he's on such a good salary.
He's a 180?
I think he'll.
No, he's way less.
No, he's less than 100. I'm almost sure of that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's
less
than
than 100. The first year.
No.
The first half season.
No, I think he's under 100.
I mean, even if he goes into 120, 130.
That's fine.
Yeah,
he'll
have to bring him back.
If you sign him, he's going to get a pay upgrade.
It's whether he wants to come back, which I think he will now that he's got these minutes in the playoff.
Yeah. I mean, this is the off-the-field stuff, but, his families, he brought some of his family to, live here, not just to hang out. So.
Yeah, so he wants to be here, and I think he will be. Samara Kugbe, he's over in Sweden just now.
I don't think he wants to be back.
No,
was it you who told me about this article? Was it you who told me that? Where it was like he went out of his way to correct what he not correct.
Oh no, I didn't tell you about that article.
Okay, so
tell me more.
So when he was at Brighton Hove Albion, he had this article where he said, "No disrespect to the fans in Vancouver, but everyone knows I want to be here. I want to be in England or whatever." Well, I haven't read the translation or whatever, but what I understand was he did an article with local Swedish.
There was an article with a Swedish.
Yeah, and he basically said, I don't want to disrespect fans in Vancouver by saying I don't want to go back there, and I don't want to disrespect the local fans here in Sweden by saying I don't want to come back here. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
So Mr. Whitecaps or someone talked to him and said, you need to be a little bit more careful with your answers.
Because remember, you're coming back and playing for Canada too sometimes. And you don't want people
but he wants to be in Europe, whether it's in Sweden or not.
And I don't blame him either.
The article I read was that the Swedish club are a little bit worried about his injuries, and they don't want to possibly make it a permanent transfer for that.
Of course.
So he'll land somewhere else.
Just a side question about that. When you do read the articles, the Swedish articles, do you kind of sound like the Swedish chef from the Muppet Show a little? That's what I was thinking, because that happens to me too when I read something translated from Sweden. I start talking like that.
You kind of do that too well too. I have season 1 on DVD.
I've seen a lot of Swedish videos.
Bring it in. We'll play it on the show.
Okay, so.
Well, yeah.
No, but like you said, everyone knows Sam doesn't want to be here. He wants to see his footballing career progress across the ocean.
So he doesn't want to be here. So someone that I don't want to be here is Shane Williams.
Yeah, he's not coming back.
Let's hope he's not. I can't see any way that he will be coming back. But when the Caps signed him, I was like, this is great. We've got this experienced guy,
and he
battling
had
a rookie.
Decent start to the season as well. He was showing some stuff going up the field once he got a fit and everything.
But then off the field woes, to put it briefly, have hampered him, but gave Jake the chance to seize the opportunity, which he did, and he hasn't looked back. But then the minutes that Williams has played since, he's been dreadful.
There's been one or two games where he was okay. But there's
the
been
3-0 in Seattle was...
Yeah.
That was the last straw for me. It's like never want to see him on the pitch again. But
but I think... this is where we see the off-field stuff impacting the on-field stuff.
Yeah. So when it comes to fullbacks, then that leaves the one big one.
Jordan Harvey.
Yep.
And we think I think he's going to be gone because of the fact...
I think he will be as well. Free agent.
He's a free agent.
A proper free agent, a proper MLS 8-year free agent.
And the union likes their free agents to explore the market. Rep. Yeah. And obviously LA is the place to be. I think his wife owns some kind of company there or some business there. And he's obviously from California, so it makes sense for him to go back there.
Everyone's talking, he'll be LAFC. I could more likely see him going to the Galaxy than LAFC.
Yeah.
It's San Jose, maybe.
Do you know the reason why everyone knows he's gone? I can't remember the specifics, but you started a new segment a week or two ago, and you didn't use Jordan Harvey.
Oh, the Halloween one?
Yes.
With Jake Nowinski.
Oh, no. Yes.
No, I don't think that. I don't think Jordan was. We couldn't find him. Plus, also you were talking to Jake.
It doesn't matter.
But I started a new section. Jordan always starts on new sections.
Oh,
writing on the wall.
I'll call him up in LA. We'll still get him to start the new sections.
I'm sure he'd love that.
Yeah, he can go and get all the LA guys for me as well. That would be fantastic. But yeah, he's going to go. I think it's pretty obvious. And we've got a piece going up next week that Austin Sweeney, one of our writers, has written, just a kind of goodbye to Ousted and Harvey. It's going to be interesting. I'm wanting to chat to him at the end of season availability, whenever that will be, as we say, just to kind of see what he's thought about here and just talk about his time in Vancouver.
So he's another one that it's really, I know maybe playoffs don't allow it, but that's one of the things I always liked that, as someone who grew up in football watching Bayern, at the last home game of every season, they'd bring out the guys who are not coming back next year because that's already been decided, because that's how the football world works.
Yeah.
And they'd allow them to have a send-off. They gave them their wife a big bouquet of flowers. Everyone cheers or maybe boos for them or whatever, and the case may be. And then they go, they play their last game, or they sub in the last game, or they watch the last game, and they're gone. I know that doesn't happen. It's hard. It's impossible with playoffs.
It's because of the playoffs. Yeah, essentially that's why it's never going to happen here.
It was nice. I was pleased to see Jordan get on in Seattle. I know it was horrible circumstances, but the fact he then made his 200th appearance, I actually quite liked that.
The other time he played right back for us, was it also in Seattle?
I think so.
He played centre back, I think, that day.
Oh, right, in Klazura.
Yeah,
right.
That wasn't a good outing for him.
No,
if you've blocked that from your memory, I totally understand why. Yeah. So central defenders, we know Waston and Parker are definitely in.
There's no need to discuss it. It's in.
Really? Good. Really?
Well,
okay,
let's
discuss it.
They will want to bring them in. But
right.
Kendall did have an interesting tweet, which you could read two ways today. He said, "Thanks for all your support. Hope to see you all next year." Which, of course, could just mean hope to see you back in the stands, or I hope I'm here next year to see you.
No, I don't think it'll happen in the winter transfer window.
I don't know.
I think if he has a good World Cup.
Yeah, summer is possible.
Yeah.
But remember, he is over 30, and how many teams are... He'll be 30 in January,
A
sorry.
championship team in England would take him easy.
Would he want to go to a championship team?
That's a good question. Are they not? I know this is maybe jumping a bit ahead or out of this whole segment, but are they? Do they not trial or bring in this like 6'6" Nigerian dude or something who like
I heard something.
some
about
report said somewhere else that he's a Whitecap next season.
Yeah,
blah,
is that
blah,
not
blah.
Nosa's brother?
or
that. Somebody that knows Nosa.
Yeah.
Somebody that knows Nosa.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he is.
Have you seen him at training?
I haven't seen him at training, but I did see a guy that fitted that description getting in the elevator. Other centre backs, David Edgar.
Yeah.
Oh, are we doing it in?
In, out. Yeah, we're still on that.
This whole section's
Sorry,
this.
Tim's in. Kendall, you think's in? Okay.
Well, you could put it...
Well,
for you, Kendall's obviously on the bubble.
Let's look at the other three then. David Edgar, Aaron Mond, Cole Seiler.
Okay, I think Edgar, is on the bubble. I think you got that right. 'Cause I don't know. My understanding is he's probably going to do some off-season training at places. Where,
in England or something like that?
Yeah.
I think I heard he was going to go to Burnley.
Yeah, where
and
he
was
has
going to have a
connections.
training stint
Yeah.
in Burnley.
Yeah, and that's to get him fit because he's obviously
off
wants to be
injury.
ready to
Yeah.
go.
Then if he does well there, he might
But
want to stay.
Is he not in the same situation as Marcel in terms of he had like a year and a half
18
guaranteed?
might be
Yeah.
18
And then
months.
no options?
No.
I don't know.
It was, from what I heard, back then it was an 18-month contract.
Yeah.
With no options?
No option.
But his whole family's here, but he does go back to Ontario a lot.
Oh, of course, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially in the fall.
Well, Niagara Falls is nice.
It's
This
not
time of
bad.
year, it's all lit up with the Disney lights. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
So yeah, I think you're right. He is in the bubble. I kind of hope he's back because I don't think we've seen the best of him even
Yeah.
at this.
I had him pegged as being the captain this year, so
Yeah. Aaron Mond, I think you have him on the bubble. I think he's out.
No, my only reason why he was on the bubble because there's going to be a lot of changes to other positions that they might want to not tinker too much with center backs. Obviously, this Nigerian guy might affect
and you've
that.
also got Barbier that they brought in to have a look at with WFCT. They only gave him a 6-month USL deal.
Yeah, so that's why I didn't even have him in the article.
Yeah.
No, I think Mond's gone, and
I think Mon's gone as well.
Yeah.
and unfortunately, I think Cole Seiler's either gone or he's like literally not an MLS contract. He goes to a USL deal, but that's highly
Seiler
unlikely.
played all season. Like he'd had a couple of things at right back last year, but it's Steve mentioned to me, that's the kiss of death. Once you start playing your centre backs and right or left back, they're out of here.
Yeah, usually.
Although Tim Parker may have done one game,
I think that was
survived it.
because they needed him
That's
to play
yeah,
right back.
That
It wasn't-
solidified him as a center back.
Yeah, but Cole Seiler,
Cole
he's a
Seiler.
really nice guy.
Yeah.
But that counts for
he's-
nothing really.
yeah,
in
he's an
football,
awesome dude.
But he has not had a good USL season. He's struggled.
Yeah.
He's played right back and centre back there as well. But he has not shown to me that he's MLS quality. He's struggled at times to show that he's USL quality. So to me, he's gone.
Yeah.
And Mond, I think, will go as well. I do agree that Edgar's on the bubble. Moving up then to the DMs.
Yeah. Well, all the central midfielders.
You want to? I'll make that joke. Sorry, keep going.
I'll put all the central midfielders who play in that position to be in there. So the two that I think are in for sure are Ali Ghazal and Yordi Reyna. Those two guys, because the fact that one was definitely a late summer acquisition,
Yeah.
and then one was kind of like a late summer acquisition because he was injured for half the year.
Yeah.
I think they're going to get another year for sure.
Unless the Peruvian club that had interest in Reyna comes in for him, but he hasn't exactly done stuff in the playoffs that's going to have clubs clamouring for him.
I don't think they'll care about playoffs, but yeah. So this is not DMs. This is all the CMs.
Yeah, I was going to
Okay.
slide into the DMs, but I thought no, we'll just
Stick
go
with
for
the
the CMs. Slide into them instead.
So you guys' thoughts on those two guys?
Yeah, they're both here for me.
Yeah.
I
And
concur.
Ali Ghazal has to stay because we had the Egyptian theme show. So
Oh, yeah.
You can't go back. Go
Yep.
anywhere right now.
We have lots of stuff planned
Now,
for him.
one on the bubble I had, and a lot of these guys I put on the bubble because of the fact that it's so going to be weird. Like they're going to be. I think this is the one position. There's going to be a lot of transition. Noza, Chani, Jacobson, because he's a free agent. Mosqueda, Tiber, Bustos. I felt like they're all going to be on the bubble because you don't know who you're going to bring in and who you're going to take out.
Yeah,
at
it
the time.
really could go either way. And some guys,
Like even Noza, because of the fact that his he had the 6-month contract and then option years after that.
Yeah.
That was kind of weird. So it was kind of, does he want to stay here for sure? Or
I've seen 2 articles talking about free agents, and one had both Chani and Jacobson as free agents. One just had Jacobson as the free agent.
yeah, I think it's just Jacobson, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
I could see them letting Channy go just salary wise. If you're keeping Noza and you've got Gazal, Channy's the guy that's expendable. Jacobson obviously is Mr. Versatile. I think he's great trade bait, but if he's a free agent, that goes out the window really. But they could sign him and then trade him in the February, March, which they do have a habit of doing.
Because Channy is totally out of contract, right?
Yeah.
And
as far as I understand.
And so is AJ.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, AJ can then negotiate, and he will be in demand because of what he offers.
It's Swiss Army knife, yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Nico, he loves it here.
He loves it here, and a fan favorite. I'm coach favorite. My only thing is, if he wasn't international, then he'd definitely be in. If he was like a domestic player, because his international status, there's other limitations. There might be some players that they bring in for other positions for that.
Did you say coaching favorite?
Coach favorite. Like he's a favorite of the coaching staff. He seems to be. He seems to get a lot of chances there.
Robbo does like him.
Yeah.
He speaks very highly of him. You might not think that because he doesn't ever play him.
Well, yeah, that's what I was going to say.
But yeah, he talks highly of him whenever he does play him.
Do you think one of these are one of the people who might get taken in the expansion draft?
Oh, for sure. One of these guys could be. And it could be a player we talk about later on, too, that I think would be an ideal person to be taken in the
Wasn't it last year where like everyone was all worried, we're going to lose one of these guys in the expansion?
Yeah.
And then no one wanted any of them, and it was like, oh, yeah.
I thought Nico could have been a guy that might go.
Yeah.
Was he exposed last time? I don't think he was.
He wasn't. I think they exposed him and then they lost somebody and then they protected him. Or that might have been the draft before. It gets very confusing. So let's look at the two Canadians, Rusty and Boosty.
I think Boosty needs to go just for his own sake. He needs to play at a higher level than USL, and they don't seem to want to give him a chance here at his natural position.
I had a discussion with Whitecap Scarf about this on Twitter today. Marco is a 10. Marco is not better than Reina. Marco is not better than Bola. Marco is not better than Mosqueda.
Bola's not a 10.
He can play a 10.
He doesn't want to.
He doesn't want to, but he can. So how does Marco get minutes?
No, I understand
because he's
that.
not better than those guys.
I understand that, but there were moments in this year where he could have played, and they didn't want to put him in there.
Yeah.
And so
they have played him. They've played him on the wing as well, and he's not good on the wing.
No, so I think I think for his sake, hopefully he does get either a loan or just moves on from here. Another guy, Rusty, I think he'll bring him back because he's a homegrown. He doesn't count as much against the cap, and I think they need some depth here and there. They need some continuity going from one year to another. They can't just dump everybody.
Minnesota tried to get Tybert in the summer transfer
but I think
window.
partly that was because of Marius, and Marius is vouching for him.
Yeah.
And that is not the case anymore.
Yeah, so that's gone. I think Tybert will want to stay for one more year and then go to the Canadian PL as a flagship star player. That's what I see in his future.
Players have it out that Matthias Laba, the big one, Ben McKendry, again for his own sake.
Yep, I think he'll be happy to stay in Edmonton if Edmonton have a team next year.
And Debbie Flores, maybe people haven't heard of him in a while, obviously.
Yeah,
poor Davey.
I only gave him one sentence thing. You added a sentence to that.
I did.
Yeah, will he be out of contract finally?
I don't know.
He's on loan technically, right?
He's somewhere out in the ocean.
He is he's back on loan in Honduras, but I think the Whitecaps are keen to keep his contract in case he turns it around and they can sell him.
Yeah.
Laba, the injury muddies the waters.
And his Racing tweet also makes things very, very awkward.
I think he would have gone because they had Noza lined up, and then he would have gone, Noza would have come in, blah, blah, blah.
No, you mean Ali G?
Was it Ali? I think Noza was the guy that they had in the pipeline the whole time.
Okay.
But I don't know. They have to re-sign him.
Yeah.
Because he's injured, unless some club comes in and takes a gamble on him. Do you think they would let him go? After flying him in for the playoff game and talking about how important he is to the club and the team?
I can't see him bringing him back on what he's been on.
But they can't then lose him for nothing either.
Yeah, you can.
Well, you can, but
he's not going to play for half a year.
This is our front office we're talking about.
He's not going to play for half a year. So for them, lose him for nothing or pay him half of whatever it was, $750,000. So, do you save that money? Right? Like, I think.
I guess it depends what they can see they could possibly get as a transfer fee for him, which.
But is he out of contract? Is he out of contract? Or they have an option.
Know.
It's an option.
They have an option, right? Yeah, they do have an option. So,
And he thanked the racing team at the end of the year too.
So all they have to do, Michael, from if memory serves correct, in the MLS to keep his MLS rights is to make him something that's deemed a fair offer or something.
I forget the exact wording, but basically that.
Yeah.
So let's move quickly on to the wingers.
I think the two that are obvious are Christian Chichera, who had a great bounce back year, and Alphonso Davies, who still is only 17 now.
Yeah,
and so I don't
know. I think that kid's overrated. I'd maybe let him go.
No, well, I don't think they're going to do that. They could always sell him still in the winter transfer, but he'll be loaned back because he can't be actually move over there. The guys.
Do you think Teixeira is a cert though? Because he does. I think he is as well, but he is. He does. He's up and down.
I think this year he's proven that he has more up than down.
I'm missing where we went through everyone's name and everyone said in and out. I missed that already.
We changed that.
We had to change that because it was just taking too long. Yeah. Obviously, Mauro Rosales. If Montero's not back, then his agent Mauro Rosales will be back.
Yeah.
The three guys that we want to discuss: Bernie Abini. I had him on the bubble only because it depends on international spots and stuff like that. Christian Bolaños on the bubble. Is he too old? Do they want to risk him going to the World Cup and not coming back ever?
Missing 2 months possibly with him at the World Cup and pre-camps and all that stuff.
And then the last one, I had him out, Breck Shea. Do they really want to take a chance and have him missing on the pitch like he was for most of the year?
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of hat companies in Vancouver that could go out of business without him being here.
There's a lot of companies in LA.
Yeah, it's just a hat.
Expansion draft.
Breck Shea is like, I think we talked about it last week on the show. I think that those tweets from, is it Eddie Robinson or whatever, are fair. He is a guy who's blessed with an immense amount of talent, but he doesn't seem crazy interested in football. Yep. And is just happy to make a living off of football as opposed to excel at it. That might be harsh, but from everything I've heard from a few different places, that sounds like a fair summary.
I mean, for me, I think Shea will go. Bola, it could go either way. I think he might have to take a pay cut if he comes back, and I don't know if he'll want to do that. But he's getting on in years. Can he command the kind of salary somewhere else? Probably.
Well, he's one of the players I think we're using GAM or TAM or something. Yeah. So his salary's on the books is not really what it is. I don't know if that's true. But
no,
that's
I think it is. Yeah. Bernie Abini for me, I think should go. He just hasn't cut the mustard, and a guy like that is surely not going to be happy just sitting on the bench, playing second fiddle, getting a few minutes here and there. If he still harbours hopes of playing for Australia, he needs to go somewhere and play.
The Whitecaps need a hold-up striker desperately, especially if you're going to play if they're going to keep playing, if they're going to play a similar style in 2018.
Well, they'll play 4-2-3-1. I can't see them. Or
no, but
4-1-4-1.
Tactically, if you're going to play this counterattack, you need kind of it would be nice to have the option of having a true hold-up man. I think they were hoping Kyle Gregg might have been that. He wasn't. I think they were hoping Bernie Abini could maybe do that. They used Breck Shea for some reason to do that a bunch. They need that. And so if they don't think Bernie's can be that and is maybe not their number two or three option on the wing, then I wouldn't be surprised if he went. But they brought him a long way. Did we get him? Did they get him for free?
Yeah, he was no transfer.
Everyone for free.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
that brings us on to the strikers.
And we already talked about Fredy Montero.
Yeah,
so me and you think he's in.
Yeah.
Zach's on the.
You think
bubble.
he's in?
I want him to be in. I want him to be in, but I don't think he will be.
Whatever I did was what I think is going to happen and a combination of what I think should happen. So mine, whenever I do these things, I do a combination of both. So it's not a definitive yes or no they're in, or depending on the club and depending on what I want.
He's not here unless it's on a loan.
Yeah. I agree with that. I would extend it
or the Chinese club buys him out.
Yeah,
and I can't see that happening.
Well, yeah, we got a tweet from Greg Petrie at Urban World who said he could see the Chinese club letting Montero go on a free, but only if a club is prepared to pick up his $5 million salary.
That's possible.
We won't do that.
No.
Okay, so but if he wants to be here, then they could always renegotiate that as well.
But if you're him, if you're the player, there's no way you're going to give up the money that is guaranteed you by a contract.
Yeah, you've only got a small window where you're going to earn
so
money.
you have 1 or 2 years on a contract at really crazy good money.
Yeah,
you're not going to be like, oh yeah, I'll walk away from that.
No, I agree with you there. So the other two forwards that I have listed, Kyle Gregg, I think he'll be home in Cincinnati, WKRP.
I don't even think he'll stay at Cincinnati.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's not done that well there. I think he'll be bouncing about USL somewhere.
And the last one is Eric Hurtado. I think he stays. And
I think he does as well.
And I want him to stay as well.
Yeah.
I think he's a great 2A, 2B striker. He'll be, if they bring another striker in, it may be something to counterbalance what Eric Hurtado offers. That would be a great combination to be
someone that
behind
can shoot on target.
Yeah, well, you have somebody who works hard, somebody shoots on target. That's a good combination.
I'm joking about Eric. I want to keep him here. He's turned me around with his attitude and just everything about it.
I remember the first beginning of the season, how much you harassed him over that own goal.
Not harassing.
Over the own goal at the near post when you said that was a great goal by Eric Hurtado. Might be the only one he scores all year.
That was close.
That was in the preseason game.
I think Eric Hurtado, of those three, he's the one for sure to be back, and he'll be joined by 2 to 4 new options.
I don't know what 2 to 4.
2 to 4.
You want to bring 5 strikers in?
Could do.
They barely have 2 sometimes this year.
Well, you know how attacking we play. Just before we wrap this section up, I just want to have a quick chat about some USL guys. My understanding is Meyer Bevan and Declan Wynn have both been offered MLS deals.
Ooh. On the second one.
That would be an interesting one for Wynn.
I'm surprised about that one.
Well, it's because they're internationals. They've both just been called up to play for New Zealand against Peru. So to the Whitecaps, they're thinking value as well. It's like you've got these guys, you don't want to let them go for nothing.
No, yeah. I don't see Declan Wynn at all. Why are you wasting an international spot on that? Meyer Bevan, I can understand.
That made me wonder then if Marcel would come back, or if they want to maybe see if Declan can play right back.
They're going to have to acquire a lot of international spots then if they're going to do that, something like that.
Yeah.
Well, it depends what internationals they let go, I guess, as well. Other USL guys, I fully expect David Norman Jr. to get offered the contract
and get loaned
that
out.
Ben McKendry has.
Yeah.
So Ben will move on, and to me, it's a no-brainer to offer it to David Norman. WFC2 Player of the Year this year. He was our Player of the Year as well. It would be incredible for me if they don't offer him a deal.
He's living his dream.
Yeah, and he wants to play for the Whitecaps, which is great as well. Now, the article which we wrote as well mentioned that the Whitecaps hope to have maybe even up to 12 players, or at least 12 players, on the Fresno team. Some will be MLS, some will be guys from the USL team that they'll offer contracts to. And a lot of them, at least half a dozen, was expected to be Canadians. But they've already lost Patrick Metcalf. He's gone to play for UBC Thunderbirds. Caden Chung has asked for his release and is hoping to go and play in Germany.
Way to go.
No, that's understandable if he wants to.
Happy for Caden.
I believe Tommy Gardner has turned down a chance to go to Fresno as well and is maybe looking to go down the college route. And there's a big question mark as to whether the Baldissimo brothers are going to take that deal and go to Fresno. I think they will, but the last I heard was nothing had been signed. So that is a big chunk of the guys that you thought would maybe go down to Fresno that aren't.
How does it remind me? How they have do the Whitecaps keep their MLS rights if they have like
the Whitecaps can only have rights to, and this is right now, to 2, maybe 3, but I think it's 2 or 3 players on the USL team. That's the only players they're allowed to have rights to.
Beyond the guys who are on MLS deals.
Yes. I was really surprised when I was told that. And that came from the club, so that's like bang.
So they're sending 12. Let's say
some of them will be MLS
let's say,
deals. So it could be like a boosty guy. If
so let's say they send 12.
Super draft picks.
Let's say 12 and 4 are on MLS deals. 8 guys go to Fresno.
Yep. Do really well.
2 or 3 of them are only they have the MLS rights for. But who has the contract? That's what I want to know.
They're signing Whitecaps USL deals.
Even though Whitecaps have no USL team.
Yes.
That's like asinine.
I know. It's baffling. So that's the latest on that I believe anyway and what I've been told. And we'll be back with more after this.
Hey, it's Marco Bustos. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
When it happens, you'll feel like an islander. You'll see ships, and there'll be reminders that you're on an island, and I'm on an island. The chances are there's a reason we've been left here, but I'm not disappointed. The chances are there's a reason we've been left
That was Scottish band Idlewild there with I Don't Have the Map, which I thought was very fitting considering the Timbers Army tifo this evening, which they were going on about how their club were map makers. And they clearly didn't have the map because they lost to Houston.
Or San Jose
Earthquakes.
Yeah.
It was a quadruple header for me because I watched the Vancouver Seattle game, watched TFC New York.
Oh, well, at least you got better.
Yeah, it got better as the day went on, and then Columbus, and then obviously Houston beating Portland, which I predicted.
Yeah, so we'll have a quick chat about these other semi-finals.
It was Houston, the team, but also their pitch at home helped them have an advantage.
Yeah. If you can't play on a grass pitch, what's wrong with you?
You're not a good Scotsman in it.
Right, let's look at TFC. They nearly imploded today with indiscipline. And
well, depending on who you talk to.
Oh, yes.
The Toronto media has all the New York people like as thugs.
Escalated.
Altidore got
outdoors.
jumped.
Yeah,
you watched the video?
Yeah.
No.
You didn't watch the
You
video?
haven't watched the video?
Seen the video, no.
In the tunnel.
In the tunnel. You haven't seen that
No.
video? Oh,
No.
you got to watch
Does
that
it
video.
So, like, from you watching it then, does it look like he was jumped?
It's not the whole thing.
It's not the beginning.
It's after it kicked off.
Well,
conveniently.
What the description is by, and Greg Vanny describes it quite well, the New York players weren't supposed to be in that part of the tunnel for TFC. That their dressing room was like before you hit that part. So the players shouldn't have been there. And Greg Vanny has some choice words to them. You can hear it all in that audio. It seems like they probably maybe approached him, but Sasha Kleshtin said that he was smacked up against the wall
by Jose Altidore.
And
Jose Altidore tweeted out
and
saying that you're the one who
came up from
behind against me.
So just piecing everything together, I don't play detective on TV or radio, but
you do in real life.
In my mind. It seems like
he drives around following people.
It seems like New York players maybe approached him, or maybe Sasha did, Josie Altidore, in that part of the tunnel, but it was Josie who hit Kleshtin against the wall. So he made the first contact, but he was.
And then did he fall down clutching his face?
Oh, that was a horrible dive, that one too. No, that's just what I'm thinking happened, maybe based on what everybody said.
And then so I didn't get to watch the game.
Yeah.
I just got a message with this video from the Walking Red or whatever website.
Yeah, somebody put it in.
Yeah. So they both got sent off for the altercation.
For that altercation.
In the tunnel.
Yes.
Which is unreal.
Straight reds, for both of them.
It's like
the cops were involved, the police were trying to break it up. There was a scrawny little kid who was like, "This is our home," or something like that.
Some VIP kid in the tunnel.
Yeah, because they had their VIPs in the tunnel as the players were going back. So
if New York shouldn't have been there. I mean, who's to blame for that? I mean, it's Toronto Argos Stadium, so I mean, neither club's going to know their way about in there.
But then later on, Giovinco imploded, exploded, or whatever you want to say, with his yellow.
But his yellow in the first leg.
Yeah, that was
idiotic.
Yeah, that was
idiotic.
Because they're up 2-1. No, what was it?
It didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter.
It was idiotic.
Yeah. And then you get the second yellow, so he's missing from the next leg.
Yeah,
Altidore
and Giovinco's missing. I think Vasquez could be missing as well, so they might have all three of their DPs.
But they're going to appeal Jose, or they supposedly, right?
I'm sure they will. But what I was told that, not what I was told, but what it was written in the article was, if they have any appeals left, because you're only allowed a certain number of appeals in a year.
Two in a year, but I think you might get one.
And if you lose,
you
get if you lose the appeal, you get charged money.
Yes, you do.
I didn't know that.
It's Toronto; they don't care. But the other thing is, they're also anxious that it's going to be more than a one-match ban.
Yes, I would just ban them for life and then just kick them out.
Vasquez, like you said,
and then have to put another Canadian team in, so then we get back in.
Yeah,
it's like CFL, a crossover. We're going to be in the Eastern Conference.
Vasquez, that one was. I thought he bumped him.
Yeah.
It looked like for me he bumped him.
Just manhandle the referee. Why not? It's fine.
And I don't like people said, "Oh, the referee should be suspended." Well, no matter how much of the referee badly it is, like there's been times when I'm sure every player wants to beat up a referee, but you can't do it on the pitch. You can't bump into him.
The referee should be suspended.
I got that in response when I sent out my tweet.
I tweeted out that if New York had won that, Penso should have been given the keys to the city off Vancouver. Like Gregor Robertson should have got in touch with him. Laura Armstrong, Toronto journalist, had tweeted out, accounts from TFC Live Camp say Altidore was basically jumped by New York Red Bulls in tunnel. Fanny says team will be reviewing video, which Brenton Walters retweeted with the brilliant, accounts from my dog say the loaf of bread basically fell off the counter.
No, but the thing is, you're saying she said that.
Yes.
There's other people in the Toronto media who basically reiterated that. So that,
because
they're getting that message.
Mike Martinego's been going on about the TFC media's in their
Steve
pocket.
Simmons, who doesn't really cover soccer that much, he's mostly a hockey guy. He wrote that Altidore got jumped. He wrote that exact line that he got. So TFC is spreading that and pumping that line through all the media so they get that word out.
It's interesting the lengths that people are going to save the crew.
Yes. Well, let's move on to the crew then.
Yeah. That was a nail biter.
Yeah, I thought they were going to blow it.
Yeah.
When they gave up those 2 goals and there was still over half an hour to go, you just felt that Man City reserves were going to do something. But then they brought Pirlo on to help the crew. I think they were saving the crew by bringing Pirlo on. Taylor Twellman.
He got a swan song.
Yeah. His passing was off. That was bizarre to just bring him on.
Did he look disinterested?
He looked like Mark Webber. I always think he looks a little bit like Mark Webber.
Really? Have you told Mark that?
I don't know.
Oh, you should.
I saw Mark the other night at the UBC game.
Speaking of Mark Webber, that was the best thing about that day in Portland, the October 22nd loss. The game was over. We talked to Maddox and all that.
Yeah.
Went up to the car and we're like, we got to go eat somewhere. So we just called up Weber. We're like, Weber. He's like, you guys must be driving. You must be so upset driving up the I-5. And Weber, we're still in Portland. We need to eat. Where should we go? And we had some amazing Vietnamese food at a place you recommended. It was awesome.
Wow.
The Weebs.
He's great.
So getting back
Columbus,
to
Columbus are through.
Yeah.
Kikuta Mani into a final. Woo! Go
Yeah.
Kikuta.
It's not a final.
It's a semi-final, conference final.
I think you'll find it is called a final. It is the Eastern Conference final.
Actually, you do get a trophy for it. I swear. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a final.
It's the most useless final.
So, but like we said, we thought they were gonna.
I thought NYC
blow it. And that
would do it.
Like you were talking about the Giovenco yellow card earlier. That third goal that New York gave up in the last game, the first leg. That was a garbage goal too, as well.
Yeah,
and that would have changed everything as well. So it's amazing how those little things at the end of a first leg change everything.
I wonder how last year they got beaten bad by Toronto, right?
Yeah, that is my only sad thing about NYC losing. It does look like it makes it easier for TFC.
But easier.
No.
Columbus is going to...
Columbus is on fire, man.
Yeah, and Columbus...
Like Kyle Gregg.
And Columbus is obviously, like I said, we said Altidore might not be there. Giovinco, Vasquez might not be there. That's 3 major attackers there.
But I'm wondering for Vieira, from the perspective of Man City Light and Man City, the consortium, is... what they view this as. Okay, is it like he got smashed last year?
Yeah.
This year he lost, but he did a little bit better or whatever.
I could see him going.
Yeah, Has he done well enough to move on?
No, definitely not.
You don't think so?
I think he'll be out in his ear.
You're joking, right?
No, seriously.
What if he goes to Austria?
No.
I think Vieira will get sacked as NYC head coach.
You're having a laugh.
No.
Dude, Vieira's there because the City group wants him to develop as a coach and do it in a place where he can't get relegated. He can't cost them crazy money. There's no way they're sacking him.
No, they're not sacking
him.
him.
They're lining him up for the future.
He's staying.
But he's terrible. Anyway, let's move on to happier things. Portland got beat. Now, when they took the lead, because I started to watch the game. It was 0-0 when I left. I headed up to SFU. God, it was cold up there. So then I got back. And I thought, I'll just fast forward through the Portland game. Portland took the lead. I was like, that's it over now. Fast forwarded through it. I was like, Houston's equalised.
Yeah.
Bit of a surprise. And then when they took the lead, cock-a-hoop.
Yeah.
That was a very poor goal.
Yes.
Antonello.
Poor goalkeeping.
That's why Marinovic is the number 1.
That was bad.
Oh, wait.
You're thinking Jake
Gleason used to be playing there.
No, that was a bad goal. A bad goal. Honestly,
I thought it was a good goal.
At 1-1,
slightly biased.
At 1-1, I don't know, Steve. At 1-1, I felt like Portland was going to score.
They seemed very.
It just felt like it.
Yeah, they were going after it, but Houston had their moments too where they were not. They weren't like sitting back and everything. They were going for it too, and that's obviously they got that goal from.
Is there a happier sight though than a sad Caleb Porter?
I had a good conversation with Caleb in the couple
I
conversations.
forgot I sent you in to speak to him.
Yeah,
'Cause I didn't want to see a happy Caleb Porter, so that's why I sent you in there.
Well, no, but it wasn't more than just a happy. It was a little bit behind the curtain, Caleb Porter. Beyond, I mean, I didn't shake his hand, so he was kind of upset. No, I'm joking. I think I did shake his hand. But I didn't actually. Next time, if I ever get to see him in that kind of context again, I'm going to ask him about the handshake. Unless he'll get angry. Unless someone tells me don't do that. But
he'll get sacked as well.
No, I don't.
I'm kidding.
No, I don't think he's going to get sacked. But no, it really felt like that, one, they were going to come back, and two, as much as fellow Cascadians, you don't want the other Cascadian clubs to do well. You got to look at all of their injuries and all the way that their squad was affected this year, and like they had it bad at the worst time of year.
Well, considering all those injuries, and then Matix went down as well with an elbow today as well.
You this is radio, so you can't see this, but Steve appears to be playing the world's smallest violin with his index finger in his thumb.
It plays a nice tune.
It does.
Yeah.
No, but seriously.
Yeah.
I do.
They were without so many players.
They did well.
No Addy, no Chara.
No, but now it just makes me more disappointed that Vancouver screwed it up, because we could have had Houston.
No, but remember the game against Portland earlier in the year at home when they barely had any backups, and they just.
But this is even worse. No Chara.
Yeah.
And what's the center back's name? Mabiala.
Let's just say the center back.
Their number 2 center back next to Ridgewell. He went out in the last game, or was it against Vancouver even? He went out, so Olam had to play, and Olam is shocking. I can't believe he played so well at the beginning of this year. They had so many injuries.
It now sets up Houston against Seattle, so we are all orange.
Yeah.
And
Orange
Columbus against Toronto, we are all yellow.
Yeah. Orange and yellow. That would be a nice.
To me, it's just yellow. It's got to be yellow.
Oh yeah, I want yellow.
But you think of the what set up the Final Four? That's a good group of lifesavers right there. Green, red, yellow, and orange.
But those four
not
teams,
rave green.
No,
they've made all the headlines in the last week, which brings us on nicely to BC Soccer Web headline. BC Soccer Web headlines is brought to you by bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for news, links, and a lot more, locally, nationally, and internationally. Check them out on bcsoccerweb.com.
You also can't see this, but there was some good dancing with that theme song. Yeah.
This is a dancey tune.
Yeah.
So we'll go.
What you got for us this week?
Okay,
Steve?
so we're running late, so I'm going to skip some of them. But
just 2 minutes.
Quick hits on some of these. Congratulations, John Herdman, on coming up to that November 9th game against USA. He was named Coach of the Year award. Jack Donahue. This is not a soccer award. This is all like coaches, and so it's a pretty big honor for him. Patrice Evra pulls the Air Cantona.
I haven't seen this, but I heard about this.
There's just pictures. I haven't seen video of it myself. Maybe there is video somewhere, but he basically just took one of his own fans, supporters behind there. He must have said something to him, Luis Suarez like. So obviously he took him out.
Or not? No, what's his name? Materazzi against Zidane in the World Cup.
Yeah. I always want to know what's been said, but maybe
that was about Zidane's sister, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, that was. Yeah.
Kyle Beckerman cuts off his dreadlocks.
He looks excellent with it. Good looking.
I heard about that. I haven't seen that picture, but I heard about that too.
Yeah, I thought I did. I would not say if you showed me his face, I would not have recognised who it was. He looks really good.
Now, this is one going back to we're talking about Montero, about Chinese teams having a lot of money. Chinese players receive $4 million each after promotion. And this is not even to the top league. This was like from, I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was third to second level. So it was even the promotion to
Canadian dollars, American dollars. What is this?
I have a feeling it was American dollars. Wow. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
That is 3.999999 million more than East Fife players got when they got promoted.
This one you guys might enjoy. Fans of the world's worst team celebrate loss in Brazil. They almost got promotion. But the fans were completely against it, and it's a really fun article to read. Couple of
by the Whitecaps next.
TV viewership for MLS playoffs on ESPN networks up 80%. Now it's not a huge thing because the numbers doesn't like bounce off or the thing.
Yeah,
but
and when they're so bad, going up 80%.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
It's like they've gone up from 10 to 18.
This could have been just a bump up from the Atlanta, Minnesota expansion because those people maybe were watching it or something.
Sadly, they've lost them all again after watching the Seattle Vancouver matches.
Or those 2 goalless draws. In the first legs.
Tata Martino reportedly turns down U.S. men's soccer job. Now, this was from a soccer blog, but they got their information from an Argentine reporter. So he's turned it down.
Who's turned it down? Sorry, again?
The Atlanta coach, Tata Martino.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Kyle Martino, the commentator. I was like, what? Yeah, okay, I saw that.
No, I don't think he would turn it down.
I don't think he would offered it, and I don't think he'd be turn it down, yeah.
World's first cards for coaches to be trialed in A-League and W League. Now, basically, this is they're going to be treating coaches there. It's a trial, like players, where they get a yellow or a red card depending on what their infraction are. I'm assuming there's going to be no dirty tackles there by the coaches, but maybe it's more verbal stuff.
If they bring it into MLS, they can call it the Robo Rule.
Yeah, it'll be accumulation too. So if you get a certain number of yellow cards over the year, you'll be suspended.
Okay, but correct me if I'm wrong, Michael. Coaches can still be sent off. They can still be.
Yeah, they can, but you don't get. They do get warnings, but you don't see them.
This will
getting a warning.
make it more visible.
Yeah,
the fans will know what's going on.
They'll be like, "Oh, what's Robo said now?"
Yeah, I think that should come to MLS because they really need to focus on some other things as opposed to quality officiating.
Yeah. And you can manhandle the ref, so surely they can take a little bit of shout.
The Grant Wall from SI had an article about the title of the article, "Everybody Wins: Simple Steps for Fixing the Faulty MLS Playoff Format."
Yes.
This was like they did a group stage. He wanted to do it, and then eventually the top 2 teams play in the final or something. Or there was it would be a conference final still. The top 2 teams.
Yeah. So it's not good.
No, I prefer single elimination if you're going to do
so the top, there's 4 teams for each conference. The top one gets 3 home games.
Yeah.
The second one gets 2, the third gets 1, the last gets none.
None, yeah.
And then at the end of that, the top 2 in the group play off again.
Yeah. No,
it's not good.
If you're going to do that,
games.
if you're going to do that, you just have the top 2 teams go through.
They can't fit in the few games they've got just now.
No.
When you see the TSN ad saying MLS playoffs and it's like something from March to December, it feels like.
There's a reason why the World Cup, which used to have multiple group stages, got rid of that.
Yeah. No, I like the single elimination. Or you get rid of the away rule. Goal away.
That's something we should have a good debate about that actually. And some of our off-season pods now that we've got coming up, we'll
have time to talk.
Yeah, chat about stuff like that.
NASL and USSF stuff coming up.
Yeah.
They're hearing the arguments. They were supposed to rule on it on Friday. Okay, what was the ruling then?
The ruling is not in favour of NASL.
Okay.
They are not giving them the injunction.
Yeah.
The NASL are exploring all their legal possibilities, but they're basically running out of those.
Yeah. And one article that came out from, I think it was Soccer and Sweet Tea or something like that. It was a site.
Goodbye.
They came up with an article, the Cosmos and the NASL on receiving a WWE-style heel turn. Basically, it was the North Carolina owner who was the chairman for a while when I think they fired or they got rid of their own the league commissioner, and he was basically put in charge of the league, but he now is going to be in the USL, and it came out in the article, the reports that the USSF knew a long time ago that he was going to go to the USL, and it kind of seems like that he may have undercut the league.
So, okay, keep going. I want to see if there's one headline. I don't know if you're going to include it.
Just talking of NASL, congratulations. San Francisco Deltas are hosting the New York Cosmos in the championship.
Yeah.
Right. Their last game ever.
Yeah, it's like they're basically selling everything off and they could win the whole championship.
Yeah.
I'm pleased for them because I like my San Francisco and Bay Area clubs.
And you like Mark DeSantis.
Yeah. I do actually now. He was a great interview and I caught up with him.
I don't mind it, but I have some friends who still can't get over the history.
Yeah, and
future
then
Whitecaps boss.
Another thing, they obviously
Never.
it's too late for the hearing itself, but as NASL waits ruling on its fate, hearing lifts lid on the league, U.S. soccer, and some details.
Right,
and that was interesting.
Did you see though? I don't know if it was in the list because you send us lots of awesome lists.
Yeah.
But what happened is going on with San Antonio and Austin.
Oh, that's coming up.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. So this is the MLS Columbus stuff, obviously. Okay. The really quick one: Ford family joins Detroit MLS bid, offers Ford Field as a venue. That's pretty big news. Ford family they're one of the richest. Obviously, they own the Ford company, everything like that, and the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, except
NFL.
they ripped off the current supporters group in Detroit as well by using their photographs and imagery, even like selling their scarves. They had a little image that they were doing that merchandise-wise without asking them.
Yeah.
Because they were no part of it.
I can't believe an ownership did that.
It's the culture wars of North American football.
Okay, so the San Antonio stuff that Zach was talking about, I'll read a couple of headlines here. I'll read one. San Antonio sends MLS skating letter. League denies it misled expansion bid. So basically, San Antonio was told that to go ahead with looking at purchasing a field in conjunction with getting an MLS expansion team. And they were told that Austin would not be a part of this expansion if you guys were getting, so there would be no direct competition. You don't want too many teams in a small area. But obviously with the Columbus thing happening now, that's changed. And your thoughts on that, Zach, and what you read there?
Well, no, the letter says basically we're sending this information to the district, like the district attorney or whatever, to investigate because they're basically saying, look,
it's fraud.
You told this guy in 2013 that he can move this team to Austin. You told us in 2015 or whatever that Austin isn't in this running, blah, blah, blah. We feel this is a conflict of interest. And, basically we're having someone investigate to look at the legality of this all. It makes MLS look like shady business people.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the whole thing with this, the more this stuff that comes out about Precourt and everything that he's allegedly done, it does make it look really shady, really sketchy. And it's a warning for all fans, basically, and very disappointing.
Yeah, and the thing is, okay, then we got some articles about the Columbus. The city council passes resolution after Save the Crew plea, so they've kind of gotten behind the supporters. There's a really nice article about how the Save the Crew grew from a hashtag in Twitter DM to nationwide movement in different leagues. I didn't even know it was in different leagues. I thought it was just in the one, but it is spreading over. And then the most interesting one was MLS2 to Austin event regarding Columbus Crew. Now, the most interesting thing about this is the way they were presenting it to the Austin fans and the way the Austin supporters were questioning. And they put these questions in the article about the Columbus owners' loyalty. Because Austin's used to this, getting ripped off by owners.
Yeah, if you do it once and it doesn't work out, you're going to do it again.
I think they're going to get some blowback from Austin support. Yeah. Obviously, they'll accept the team once they come over there. Nobody's going to poo-poo. They're going to still support it, but they're still questioning what means that you're going to not take it away from us later on.
So we know people on the ground in Austin. We've asked them about this, and some of the diehard supporters there won't support this because they've gone through that. They know what it is to lose a club. Yeah. Phil Rollins screwed them.
Yep.
He started a team there with the goal to get MLS. When he found out MLS wasn't going to bring it to Austin at that time, he literally overnight moved the team to Orlando. People showed up the next day. The doors
moving vans.
The doors locks were changed. The thing was all gone. So these people know what it is to go through losing a club.
Yeah.
And this is part of the conversation of, is a club just a business or is it a part of community or whatever? We won't go into all of that. But some of those people know that. And so I think some of them truly won't support this. Well, obviously, maybe the majority of people will.
That's the thing. Because the majority, it's going to be the minority and a vocal minority that won't. But you can read all those stories and a lot more on bcsoccerweb.com. So check them out. Make it part of your daily cycle. You'll get local, national and international news and links. So we're nearly finished this week's episode of the show. Just before we go, though, we've got a Wavelength for you. I mentioned last week on Wavelength that I had a song I'd been saving, wanting to use it. It was about a 0-0 draw. So I had another song, which was about an end of the season. I was hoping I was going to be not playing that till December, but unfortunately now it's getting played a little bit earlier.
Wait, this is not one of your hooligan songs?
No.
Okay.
That's what all December will be as we smash everything up.
You're condoning hooliganism.
Always.
Condemn.
This song is from 1997 by Chumbawamba from their album Tub Thumper, and this is Football Song.
Seasons end and the stands come down. One less heart in one more town. Books and and quiet as stone. See the animals sleep on animal bones. It's all so nice, and it's all so nice. It's all so but it's all so Seasons end and the stands come down. One less heart in one more town. But it's all so nice.
Chumbawamba there with Football Song. A nice, sad way to end the season. We're not going anywhere though. We've got a show every Sunday for you, so
Wait, I thought
don't worry about that.
every day. You said every day in the off season we're going to do this.
If you want, I'm up for that.
All right.
But we've got a lot of things planned. We'll have our year-end review. We'll have our 5th annual State of the Whitecaps chat with Carl Robinson coming up in December. We're also going to be doing a live show on Christmas Eve. We're going to welcome Santa into Vancouver. It's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to that.
Stop calling me Santa, man.
Well, you need to put on a little bit more weight, but you are getting there, so it's okay. But just before we go, I just want to mention a couple of things. Huge congratulations to UBC Thunderbirds winning their 17th Canada West title.
Yes. Good job.
What a fantastic game.
A comeback game.
Yeah.
Comeback win, too.
2-0 down after 59 minutes to I guess, your crowd, Trinity Western in Langley.
Now, how long did they wait before they tried to come back from that 2-0 deficit? Did they wait till the last 5 minutes or
10 minutes?
Yeah, okay.
No, they actually right away they went 3 at the back, 3 up front, played a 3-4-3.
Yeah.
It was unusual to watch an attacking game of football, but then they tied it up at 2-2. Whitecaps residency alumni Victory Shambusho got the first goal that got them back into it, and a great 3-2 win. They're off to the Nationals in Kamloops next week. Big well done as well to SFU Clan, who won another GNAC title. They're off to the Nationals NCAA Division 2 playoffs. So great college soccer. And if people are wondering where all these players for the Canadian Premier League are going to come from, you don't have to look much further than some of the guys in Canada West and NCAA as well. But just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsToBeat. Sorry, it's late.
I'm also on Twitter at Zachary AM, and I'm part of the Movement Curva Collective.
Anyway, I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Give us a follow on Instagram. I never do anything with it, but give us a follow anyway, AFTN Soccer. We'll be back next week, hopefully with some stuff from the Whitecaps' end of season availability. And until then, thanks for listening, take care, and Mon, some teams that are playing playoff soccer.
Go out and watch the Canadian women's. No, go out and watch the Canadian women play on Thursday.
Go Dynamo, go Crew.
Allez les Rouges.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.